So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my weekly Instagram live broadcast. First of all, just to point out that I've changed my backdrop. Just in case you don't think I listen to backdrop, a number of people contacted me and said that the backdrop for my Instagram live broadcast was very dull. So I've decided to come down here and sit in the Mulgrave lobby, which is very quiet, and broadcast to you live from here. So first things first, I hope that you are all safe and well. And I'd like to elaborate on that a little bit, because obviously when we talk about safe and well during COVID-19, we primarily mean talking about our physical health and hoping that we're not catching the coronavirus and so on. But I think one of the things that's becoming clear over the time of this pandemic is that we need to be concerned as much about our emotional health as well as our physical health. Obviously, in terms of physical health, BC has been very successful thanks to all of our actions in keeping the virus at very low levels. But what is, I think, of growing concern to us all is the emotional health of people around us, our young people in particular, as we are all confined pretty much to our houses for long periods of time. So I would urge you to make sure that you're thinking about the positive aspects of what is happening, that you're continuing to build relationships, albeit remotely, with people around you, your extended family, your friends, people who are in your neighborhood, so that we can all really look after our emotional health as well as our physical health. The other thing I'd like to mention at the beginning of this broadcast is that it is Earth Day today. And in fact, it's the 50th anniversary, as far as I'm aware, of Earth Day. And Earth Day is one of a number of occasions during the year when we think about ways in which we can protect and look after our environment. So my little challenge for you today is to think about one thing additionally you can do today to look after our environment. Whether that means turning off a light bulb or doing something else to recycle, please do something today to support Earth Day. And of course, if the 7.5 billion people around the world all did one thing today, then that would make a significant difference to our community. So as normal, I'm going to answer a couple of questions, and I've had a number of great questions coming through. The first question which I'm going to answer today is, what are the greatest challenges that Mulgrave has faced during the pandemic? So that's a good question, and of course the challenges are many. I'll just talk about a few of those today. I guess the biggest challenge is the most obvious one, and that is just moving from face-to-face learning for all of our students to the e-learning, the virtual learning scenario. And of course, that's been a big challenge, a challenge which all of us have been involved in, whether you're a student trying to manage e-learning at home, whether you're a parent supporting your children, particularly young children, and indeed whether you're a teacher. So that's really been the biggest challenge. And as a subset to that, I think adapting, changing what we're doing as we go in the light of feedback and in the light of practice has been an important part of that. But as I say, it's a challenge I think we've risen well to, and we're continuing to respond well to. I mean, obviously, there are many other challenges which go with this whole situation. I think communications is challenging, making sure that we're connecting with the right people in the right way. I don't know about you, but I'm finding communications take a lot more time. I'm not having the interactions, the brief interactions that we have with so many people during the normal day, and certainly a normal school day. And I'm missing that, and trying to make sure that we're communicating in the right way, effectively, in using the right tone, the right language, has been an important challenge. I've been very lucky that in my communications to the whole community, I've had a good communications team here. But I think communications is one of the big challenges. The other thing that we're really trying to make sure that we do, and it's another challenge, is making sure that people in our community are supported well enough. And that may be our students who require additional support in over and above the e-learning that we're providing. It may be parents who are juggling children and work, and certainly some of our teachers are in that situation too, where they're juggling young children at home, or even older children at home, as well as conducting e-learning. So supporting people, and I would include in that whole heading the support of families in the Mulgrave community who are finding things particularly challenging around their own work. Maybe they've lost their employment or their company has closed, and some of the short, medium-term challenges that they face, particularly around finances, are quite significant. So we've done a lot of thinking about how we can support different people in our community. We're also trying to reassure people at this time. Obviously, there's a lot of anxiety around and trying to be calm, rational, but also paying very serious attention to the dangers of this whole situation is something that we've been trying to do from the leadership end in school. And I think the final challenge is the new one, and it's the one that's on everybody's mind, and that is, when will schools open, and what will opening be like? We're all hanging on the words of Bonnie Henry and waiting advice from the various authorities in BC to find out what the guidance is, and once that comes out, then we'll be able to plan some kind of gradual re-entry into school, which I'm very much looking forward to. The second question, just to answer very briefly, is, and this is a really good question, is how will education change in the future as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic? There are two answers to that, I think, and I veer very much from one answer to the other. The first answer is that education should not change very much at all. And the reason for that is that during the course of this pandemic, we have learned to value human interaction, and human interaction as a fundamental part of learning even more than we did previously. So on the one hand, I think people will be flocking back to schools and be enjoying the human interactions and the relationships that happen as part of everyday learning more than they've ever done. The other answer is that it will have an impact, and I think to some extent it will have it has the potential to have even more impact for our older students. And for our older students, I think the opportunities of online learning, and very high quality online learning, synchronous learning in particular, where you are face to face with your teachers, provides all kinds of flexibilities about how, when, and where you learn. And so one of the questions that we'll be engaging with as teachers and in our wider community, and we hope to link some of that into our strategic plan, is how does the experience of this enforced online learning, e-learning, how does that change potentially the way we do things in the future? So those are really good questions. That is a really good question, and I think it's something, as I say, that there's probably at least two answers and many more answers too, but it's certainly something that's worth thinking about as we look towards education in the future. So those are today's questions. Please keep the questions coming. I'm trying to answer the big questions rather than the detailed questions. If you have detailed questions, please send them in to your teacher or your divisional principal. Please feel free to join in the coffee mornings that I know the virtual coffee mornings that the principals are holding. And if you have questions, if you have feedback, as always at Mulgrave, we really encourage and welcome that. We only get stronger, we only get better with the engagement of the views and opinions of everybody. So thank you very much for connecting again today. I look forward to connecting with you next week, and maybe we'll have a few more answers about the opening of schools at some point during May. Anyway, nice to see you. Take care, everybody.